d'ailleurs, j'ai une question.
Ouais.
Et Louise, elle est coiffeuse, hein?
Ouais.
Et elle coiffe aussi pour les hommes?
Ah non, elle fait pas les hommes.
Elle fait pas les hommes? Ah
Elle
merde.
fait que les meufs.
Ah bah... je peux lui faire couper les cheveux, du coup.
Je lui demanderai quand même.
Mais vu que je suis à côté, tu vois, je me suis dit un 2-2.
Je lui demanderai quand même. Je lui
Ça va,
demanderai.
vas-y.
Mais bon, je sais qu'elle fait pas trop, tu vois.
Bah allez, ça va pas.
Mais je lui demanderai.
Mais merci.
Ciao.
Donc là, on va rejoindre François, Olivier, qui sont toute mon équipe, mon entourage de production. Je sais pas comment on peut dire ça. Voilà, les gens avec qui j'aime beaucoup travailler.
Simon.
Simon's qualities include the ability to be fairly accurate about the time he gives to the people around him, the nature of the exchanges he has with the people around him, the nature of the time he spends with them, whether it's friendly time, professional time, negotiations, parties, this or that. One of his qualities is that he handles it with great skills.
Parmi ses qualités, il gère ça avec beaucoup de doigté.
Olivier Jacquet.
Ça va et toi?
Ouais.
Je suis un des X
I'm just one of the few people he calls on when he's wondering about his repertoire, when he's wondering about his live performance, etc. Like the musicians he finds because he knows their excellent attitude. Like François, like others, like his girlfriend, like Matthew, Kid Francescoli. He knows how to surround himself with these testimonies. He knows how to call on them when he needs them, but no more. And I'm just one of them.
Voilà, je suis un de ceux-là.
Tu viens de monter sur mon bateau. So you just arrived on my boat in the middle of the harbor. It's an old boat from the 70s with a lot of wooden stuff. There's always something to do. It's kind of my little garden, my little hobby outside of the studio and outside of my house. So I spend a lot of time here. Tu peux rentrer avec le sac, hein, si tu veux.
Concernant le travail de mix.
Concerning the work of mixing the album, we just finished 2 albums with Rumble Sound, Antoine, where the collaboration went very well and Antoine's work is remarkable.
Antoine est remarquable et puis on se dit que il faut pas s'endormir.
And then we told to ourselves that we should try something else when we reach a moment in our career where we have more means, where it's maybe the moment to give a chance to others. So we draw up a list of directors and mixers with whom we can establish contact and who seemed interesting to us, hoping that some of them will respond. And everyone responds.
Voilà le bateau. C'est beau, hein?
Magnifique.
Donc ça c'est au vent.
Au moment, ouais. Au vent.
Et du coup, François.
And so François, the label manager, validates with Simon to play a game, listening to each of the track without knowing who mixed it. And we ended up with 7 times the same track mixed by 7 different sound engineers, and each of us had to answer the questions. What's your number 1, your number 2, your number 3, and why? I think Simon did it with a lot of people. What's certain is that he did it with François and I, and we talked together about this. We had the exact same number 3, we had the same number 2, and the same number 1. And Simon told us that in the feedback he got, the number 1 kept coming back.
Dans ses feedbacks, le numéro 1 revenait tout le temps. C'était Damien Quintard.
It was Damien Quintard at Miraval Studios.
My name is Damien Quintard. I'm a producer and a sound engineer, and I'm also the co-founder of Miraval Studios, which is kind of a legendary studio where so many amazing artists recorded here too, back in the 70s, where Jacques Lussier in 1977 created Studio Miraval. So it was named a bit differently, and we basically took the same grounds and made sure that this studio is ready for the future.
Alors, Miraval Studio, c'est forcément
It's a magical place. It's a studio which is located in an absolutely magnificent vineyard, surrounded by olive fields in a beautiful village of Provence called Corrence.
Provence verte, qui est Corrence.
So when I first went into the studio, I was obviously shocked by how beautiful, first of all, the domain was. from decades, centuries, even millennia of crazy artists coming there and doing their craft at the highest level. And when Brad asked me to go there and try to imagine what the future could be of the studio after so many iconic artists came over to do their records, like Pink Floyd did The Wall there, Sade did 2 albums here, George Michael and Wham, they came here to do Careless Whisper and other fantastic songs. So obviously I was very concerned to try to redesign the space so that not only we could honor its past, but also push for the future. That's why we've got this futuristic design, but at the same time, there's a big emphasis on the stones, on the wood, on all of the fantastic microphone and vintage equipments that we have over there that have lived through so many historical moments.
Donc voilà, il y a toute une espèce d'histoire assez cool et ce So there's kind of a cool story with this album. Miraval Studio is completely crazy. It's one of the best studios in the world at this moment. It's a very moving place when you get there, very inspiring. You're in the middle of the vineyards of nature, very open to nature, so the opposite of here. The opposite of Jean-Michel studio was an all-black studio. This one is an all-white studio with obviously all the old studio stuff of the time which have been restored and which are in very, very good conditions. For example, I put my synths with the same exact reverb time as Pink Floyd, The Wall. So all those little things, those little details are very important on this album. Un peu anodins mais qui sont importants, voilà, plein de petites choses comme ça.
I've always been a big fan of what Simon was doing. I mean, for me as a French engineer and musician, French 79 was always a big inspiration for me because of the sounds that he can create, the melodies, and the openness to its music. I also love the fact that it's not only a music that can be listened in France, but it's very international too, which I personally love. When Simon arrived to the studio, I already had made a first version of the mix. It was really awesome to hear his reaction and also hear his criticism, because as a producer, I love constructive criticism. I think it's what makes the world turn. We were a good team because in just a few days we were able to cover the entire mix.
C'était quand même une belle aventure sur cet album-là. It was a great adventure on this album to start here in my little room, to go and record in Paris at Jean-Michel's, and then to go to Miraval to finish the song.
What surprised me is the direction of the album. I think it's quite different from the other albums that he did, but at the same time, it keeps a very French 79 vibe to it, which I personally love. It was a tricky album to mix because every song was different. It was awesome also to see all the fantastic collaborations that were made on this album. So all the different textures of sounds, and also Simon has an incredible palette of sounds and textures, not only instrumental but also vocal. And when we blend that with him and other singers and other artists, I think it's a real force, and it's really beautiful to hear. But I think in general the album will get, in a way, Simon to the next level. I think I can't wait to hear the reaction of his fans and the general public.
What I like also in Simon's character is, for me, symbolizing what electronic music is. Electronic music is probably the most popular genre of music all over the world, but it never became so far part of establishment. It has still this kind of remote situation where we don't know lots of things about electronic music artists. It's like the beginning of a genre, which still remains underground, being so popular. Simon has that. He's extremely popular. He has this kind of vista and this kind of vision of also being close to people through his music, but still keeping kind of a remote and kind of mystery around him. And I think all these elements are making Simon's path and Simon's way quite unique.
L'envers de la pochette. Le podcast qui dévoile les dessous d'un album.